We have been through so much with these two. And astrologically, they're kind of important because they easily serve as an example of what life looks like after your Saturn return. They have been in the public eye for long enough that we can see clear differences between prior to their Saturn return and afterward. And I want to go through them. So hold on. I love this picture. So we're going to start with Beyoncé, okay? So Beyoncé would have had her Saturn return somewhere around 2010, 2011-ish. So let's talk about Beyoncé before her Saturn return and her Saturn placement. She has Saturn in the 12th house in Libra, and it is conjunct her Mercury and Jupiter. Saturn is going to bring harsh criticism, restriction, those types of things. And it's in the 12th house, and the 12th house represents the unknown. And so what we saw was a lot of harsh criticism about Beyoncé and her speech, Mercury, on a very large scale with Jupiter there. And it's from people she doesn't know. She doesn't know her fans, personally. Like, these are people that she doesn't know and she can't see in a lot of ways. And then we also had that situation with Solange and Jay-Z on the elevator. That's bringing that Libra and that Mercury. Libra is partnerships and Mercury is your siblings. She's had a lot of conflict surrounding whenever she does partnership, like she partners with somebody. From partnering with Sean Paul for Baby Boy and, people speculating whether or not they were dating. And then she's also had issues with friendships, which is Mercury, around Destiny's Child. Those girls were her friends, right? And we had so much to say about that. So fast forward to this moment. This was 2011, and I believe that this was the beginning of Beyoncé taking control of her Saturn. With her Saturn conjunct Mercury, we saw that after this period, after she had her child and she became a mother, she really started to control the narrative. She only told us what she wanted us to know when she wanted us to know it. This was kind of the start of that, the way she announced her pregnancy. And then after her Saturn return was done, this is the result of her Saturn return. Beyoncé would have been 35 when Lemonade dropped. And so here we get to really see the maturity and the ownership of her Saturn placement. The way she dropped Lemonade with no warning had the world going crazy. And she spoke about everything that she wanted to talk about in Lemonade. She held no punches, but she did it on her terms, her time. She owns her Saturn. Moving on to her man, Jay-Z also has a very interesting Saturn placement, and we can really see an evolution of him after his Saturn return. He has his Saturn in the 8th house. It's retrograde, and it is in Taurus, opposite Jupiter. So to start off, with it being in the 8th house and in Taurus, it's a emphasis on money. And Jupiter is in his 2nd house, so that just further drives that home, right? But Taurus deals with ownership, it deals with money, it deals with business. And I think before his Saturn return, he was getting his money, as we know, in very secretive ways, the 8th house, and ways that really depended on other people. So with the seesaw between Saturn and Jupiter in his chart, it shows he's teeter-tottering between getting his money in a way that is empowering for him and a way that comes from his own production, his own mind, his own self-worth, versus getting his money through partnership, getting his money through working with other people, interacting with other people in a certain way. But then if we fast forward to 2003, 2004, we start to see Jay-Z after his Saturn return. And like his wife, he hit his peak around 34, 35 is when we really start to see the benefits of his Saturn placement and what he learned. So 2003, he announces that he's going to retire after the Black Album, right? And I personally feel like this was his way of taking control of his Saturn, the way that his wife did with her baby announcement. I think that Jay-Z used the retirement thing. That was his way of saying, like, no, I need to start doing this shit my way. And we see after that one, he starts investing in a bunch of businesses. We got the 40/40 Club. He bought the Nets around this time. There were a lot of investments that he made in the business sector, Taurus. And again, Jupiter, second house. This is also when he met Beyoncé. And so he gets to do his eighth house in a different way because now he's joining money with a woman or with someone who ended up being his spouse. And he was very smart because he has Saturn retrograde and it is in eighth house. He waited to get married. He waited to have that really impactful partnership. And when you have a planet in retrograde, especially one like Saturn, you really need to be okay with giving things some time and understand that it's really going to take some maturation before you get the benefits of Saturn. But when you do, they are big and beautiful. So if you are going through your Saturn return right now, please know that there's so many lessons you're going to learn through this time, no matter how harsh it feels. There's a lot of rewards on the other side. So take this time seriously. Know that it is not going to be like this forever at all. And keep your head up. If you would like for me to analyze your Saturn return or your Saturn in your chart, you know where to find me. Head to my website, sign up for one of my readings, and follow for more astrology content.